When the blizzard hit during the holidays, I stocked up and kicked my cheating husband to the curb. The holidays were just around the corner, and my husband and I were getting ready to drive back to our hometown. On the day we were supposed to leave, my husband's old flame showed up with her dog, crying about how she couldn't get a ticket. My husband ordered me out of the car. With the dog, we're over capacity. You can take the train home yourself. But he knew damn well the train tickets had been sold out for weeks. My mother-in-law chimed in impatiently, "Megan has a fever. Are you really going to let her travel without a ride?" Looking at the snow starting to fall, I got out without a fight and started unloading all the holiday supplies I had bought. My husband scoffed. "So petty. Who cares about a few groceries? Just take them." I just smiled. They had no idea an apocalyptic blizzard was about to hit. The supplies they were sneering at would soon be the only thing keeping them alive. "Clara, Megan's running a fever, and she has her dog with her. We'll have too many people in the car. You'll have to figure out a train ticket and get home on your own." His old flame was sobbing beside him. "Mark, Clara, please. I have a fever. I feel so weak." My mother-in-law looked at her with pure adoration. "You're perfectly healthy. Why are you fighting a sick person for a seat?" I was in the middle of loading groceries into the trunk, but I stopped. "Every single ticket is sold out. How am I supposed to get back?" My husband wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mom and Dad are getting old, and Megan has a fever. I have to drive, so you're just going to have to make a sacrifice." I laughed coldly. Of course. It was the exact same script as my last life. I'd been reborn. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day we were supposed to drive home for the holidays. In my last life, my husband felt so sorry for his feverish old flame that he insisted on bringing her along. I fought him tooth and nail, and managed to keep my seat in the car. On the way, we got caught in a massive snowstorm. The temperature plummeted to 30 below zero. Countless cars were stranded on the highway, unable to move. Luckily, I had bought a ton of supplies, including 2 new comforters. Thanks to those things, our family managed to survive for 5 days. Then my husband got a phone call and started screaming at me. "This is all your fault. You're so cold-hearted and selfish." Megan froze to death. If she'd been in my car, she would still be alive. He despised me after that. As our food dwindled, he and my in-laws decided to kill me in secret. As I was dying, I begged him to spare me. He planted his foot on my face, his expression twisted with hate. "If you die, there's one less mouth to feed. We can last a few more days. You killed Megan, now you're going to pay with your life. Well, what's your answer?" My husband's voice snapped me back to the present. I looked up at the swirling snowflakes and made my decision. "Fine, I'll give her my spot. But I bought all these groceries, so I'm keeping them." Hearing this, Megan let out a laugh. "Clara, you're being so cheap. It's just a few groceries." My mother-in-law agreed. "Let her keep them, who cares? We'll just buy new stuff when we get there, nicer stuff than this." I sneered inwardly. The supplies they couldn't care less about now would be lifesavers once the apocalyptic blizzard hit. Before they left, Megan whispered in my ear, "See? Mark still cares more about me. You must be so jealous." Jealous? Watching them drive off so happily toward their deaths. What was there to be jealous of? After my husband's family drove away, I watched the snow fall harder and harder, lost in thought. I didn't have much time. 2 days tops. In 2 days, most cities would be buried in snow. I decided to stay put and give up on going home. I quickly called my parents and sent them a list of everything they needed to prepare for the extreme cold. My dad was confused by items like a hand-crank generator and solar panels, but he promised to get everything on the list. I breathed a sigh of relief. Mark had taken our only car, so I had to take a cab. I needed to stockpile a massive amount of supplies. I had died too early last time, so I had no idea how long the disaster would last. My only option was to over-prepare. I couldn't stay in our apartment. I was worried that if Mark and his family didn't die on the highway, they'd come back. To be safe, I needed to find a new place to live. It didn't take long for me to pick a spot. My best friend's grandmother's old villa in the countryside. The villa wasn't far, only about a half-hour drive. My best friend's family had moved to Florida years ago, so the house had been sitting empty for a long time. I got her permission and urged her to stock up on supplies too. In my past life, even a place like Florida had been hit by the brutal, extreme cold. First, I went to the bank and withdrew all my savings, 200,000 in total. Then I took out loans from every platform I could, staying within the limit I knew I could pay back once I sold my house. With cash in hand, I felt much more secure. I took a cab to the biggest supermarket in town and bought a ton of food. When the apocalypse hits, sitting at home gets boring fast. You need comfort food. Stockpiling is a must. I focused on non-perishables. For staples like rice and flour, I bought 300 bags of each. I bought 10 boxes of compressed biscuits for a quick, filling meal. Canned goods last forever, and their processing locks in nutrients. I bought 50 cases of canned fruit, meat, and seafood. Instant noodles were a must, along with self-heating hot pots and things like that. I picked out flavors I liked and bought 100 cases. I couldn't forget toiletries. Things like toilet paper and pads were essential, so I stockpiled enough for 2 years. I also stocked up on all kinds of seasonings and sugar. And I bought snacks, nuts, chocolate, cookies, potato chips, you name it. And of course the nectar of the gods, soda. A necessity. Water was critical. I bought enough bottled water for one person for a year, and ordered a simple water filtration system online for same-day delivery. For emergency lighting, I bought a case of candles. To avoid attracting attention, I made several trips. Even so, I overheard people muttering, "It's just a little snow. Why is she buying so much? Isn't she worried it'll expire?" I kept my head down, my mask on, and ignored them. I'm no saint, I can't save everyone. Cured meats like bacon and sausage store well, so I bought 100 pounds from a local market. Next, the most important category, cold weather gear. I went to several stores and bought a hand-crank generator, solar panels, and solar-powered chargers. You can store electricity too. I bought 20 high-capacity batteries. Between those and the solar panels, my basic power needs would be covered. I bought several of everything. Arctic-grade tents, extreme cold-down jackets, thermal suits, self-heating blankets, insulated sleeping bags, and thermal masks. I didn't have time to try on clothes, so I just bought everything a couple of sizes too big. The snow outside was getting deeper, already up to my calves. I checked the time. 5:30 p.m. I was running out of time. My friend's grandmother's villa was isolated, so the chances of being discovered were low. Still, I had to guard against intruders. I paid extra to have workers come out immediately to modify the villa, installing a reinforced gate and security cameras inside and out. I also got a few things for self-defense. To be ready for any medical issues, I hit up several pharmacies and bought any medication I might need. Antibiotics, cold medicine, bandages, and more. I also bought 10 cases of heat packs. By the time I had everything, it was the next day. The city was buried in snow, now thigh-deep. The temperature had dropped to 35 below. Cab drivers weren't on the road anymore. I gathered my last batch of supplies and moved into the suburban villa. The city was still running for now. I cranked up the heat, and the warm air was a stark contrast to the bitter cold outside. I was eating a steak and watching a variety show when I got a video call from Mark. "Honey, you have to save me. I'm going to die." I didn't answer. He switched to his front camera. "I'm not lying. Are you on your way? It's so cold I can't take it. The highway is completely blocked. We're surrounded by cars." I wrapped my blanket tighter around me, feeling the warmth. "What do you want me to do?" "I'll send you my location. Bring us some supplies. Please." My mother-in-law was screaming in the background. "This is all your fault. You just had to take the groceries. If you hadn't, we'd have food and blankets." I snorted. I had packed the trunk so full of gifts and food for the trip back home that it could barely close. My father-in-law lamented, "If we still had that liquor, a couple of sips would really warm us up." Faced with their accusations, I shot back. "How am I supposed to bring you anything? It's 40 below out there. Going out now would be a suicide mission." My husband, Mark, got angry. "You must be on a train, right? All warm with plenty of food? You have so many supplies, bring some to us. Your husband is about to freeze to death. Are you just going to let us die?" His old flame, Megan, started crying again. Clara must still be mad at me for taking her seat. I didn't want this to happen. I have a fever. I wanted to roll my eyes. "Shut up, you two-faced bitch. You wanted my husband so bad? He's all yours. Clara, you've got it all wrong." I couldn't be bothered to argue. "You want supplies? Not happening." Whether you live or die has nothing to do with me. Mark suddenly realized something. It's quiet where you are. Why won't you turn on your camera? You're not on a train, are you? Wait, are you at home? He ground his teeth. You've got to be kidding me. We're out here starving on the highway, and you're at home living it up. And I have you to thank for that, my dear husband. Thank you for leaving me behind. Otherwise, I'd be the one stuck on that highway, freezing to death. I watched on the screen as a look of regret slowly crept across Megan's face. That's right. She was the one who had begged and pleaded to get in that car and go back with him. I hung up the video call without a second thought. The news was covering the disaster unfolding across the country. The blizzard hit right during the holiday travel rush, stranding countless people on the roads and trapping huge crowds in train stations. And today was New Year's Eve. Last year on New Year's Eve, I was stuck on the highway with Mark and his family, shivering in the cold, eating nothing but the broth from a cup of instant noodles. My mother-in-law had said that since I was the most useless person in the family, I only deserved the broth. My husband had wolfed down the noodles without even thinking of sharing. But this year I was free. I was in a warm room with a 4-course meal and a soup on the table. Happy New Year, I told myself. I knew that even though things seemed somewhat normal for now, the plunging temperatures would soon send everything into chaos. This blizzard was going to be deadly. As the countdown to midnight began, the temperature dropped to 42 below. I opened up a streaming app and saw that Mark was live. He was telling his viewers all about me, about how I was refusing to help, leaving my own family to freeze to death. The comments were full of people condemning me. Divorce a wife like that as soon as you get back. Her husband and in-laws are freezing to death. She should be crawling on her hands and knees to bring them supplies. That bitch is going to get what's coming to her. Words like that couldn't hurt me anymore. Mark's lips were purple from the cold, and he was wrapped tightly in a down jacket. Suddenly, a dark figure flashed across the screen. Then I heard my mother-in-law scream, "God damn it, someone's stealing our stuff. Hey, stop, thief." Mark got out of the car to chase them, but there was no one to be seen in the darkness. He came back, dejected, as his mother cried out, "The half box of instant noodles we had left is gone. They took it all. And our only blanket. They took that too. They had so little to begin with." Mark broke down. He turned and yelled at his old flame. "Weren't you supposed to be watching our things? How could you let them get stolen?" Megan, clutching her dog, looked pale. I don't know. He just ran up and grabbed it. You're useless. I never should have brought you." After a long silence, Mark looked into the camera. "Hey everyone, my wife loves to hoard stuff. Our apartment is full of supplies. I'll give you the address. You can go take whatever you want. Just bring a little bit to me, please." A moment later, I got a text from Mark. "Don't blame me for this. You wouldn't help me. In a little while, people are going to be breaking down your door to take your stuff. Regret it now?" I didn't reply. I just blocked his number. On the screen, Mark was full of confidence. "You brought this on yourself, honey." On my home security feed, I watched as someone picked the lock. They ransacked the place like robbers, clearing everything out. A few more groups of people came through after them. A wave of fear washed over me. I was so thankful I hadn't stayed there. I had found another place to hide out. Otherwise, no matter how much I'd stockpiled, it would have all been stolen. 3 days into the new year, the city's water was shut off. A wave of panic spread through the city as news of the apocalyptic blizzard circulated online. People were already dying from a lack of supplies. On the 4th day, the power went out citywide. The internet went down with it. Luckily, I had bought a radio beforehand so I could still get some news updates. Losing power was a huge blow. Without heating, homes turned into iceboxes. That's when my solar panels and battery packs proved their worth. I moved into one of the smaller bedrooms, since a smaller space heats up faster. My solar panels generated enough power to run the air conditioner. With the right inverter, I converted the DC power to AC, and soon I was basking in the warm air from the heater again. It was like the cold outside didn't exist. I sat in my room, eating a popsicle, drinking a Coke, and munching on a bag of fries. It was perfect. Sudden cold snaps make you sick, so to boost my immune system, I took extra vitamin C and D. Before the blizzard, I'd stockpiled some dehydrated vegetables. My fresh vegetables, only a week's supply, were almost gone. I had vegetable seeds, but the conditions weren't right for planting yet. I'd have to wait and see. The 6th day of the new year was my birthday. I made myself a simple birthday cake and a feast for lunch. Braised ribs, spicy boiled pork, stir-fried lettuce with garlic, pan-fried shrimp, and a winter melon meatball soup. I even opened a bottle of red wine. After I had eaten and drank my fill, I turned on my listening device. With the power out, Mark couldn't live stream anymore. The only way to know what he was up to was through the bug. Before New Year's, I had suspected Mark was cheating, so I planted a listening device in the car. I never found anything, so I forgot about it. I never thought it would come in handy like this. I heard the sounds of an argument. I was a little surprised. With so little food and shelter, they had actually managed to last for 7 days. Mark's voice was weak. I have a fever, I'm going to die. What do I do without medicine? My mother-in-law was comforting him. You'll be fine, son. Your dad went to find you some medicine. He'll be back soon. After what felt like a long time, my father-in-law returned. Honey, why are you covered in ice? And blood, you're covered in blood. I got 2 pills for our son's fever. Here, take them quickly. Dad, wake up. Dad. Honey, you can't die. What will I do if you die? My father-in-law had been stabbed in the stomach while trying to get fever medicine for his son. Between that and the extreme cold, he didn't make it. Mark took the medicine, and his fever broke soon after. The supplies they had in the car were all stolen from others, but even that was almost gone. The situation on the highway was growing more tense. It was chaos, people fighting over supplies, attacking each other, a constant sound of wailing and crying. Mark didn't seem to care that his father was gone. That's one less person. We can last another couple of days. My mother-in-law slapped him. Are you even human? That was your father. Mark shoved her to the ground. Why didn't you stop Clara when she took the groceries? If we had them, would we be out here stealing? This is all your fault. He kept screaming, it's so cold, and the food's almost gone. We're all going to die. His mother couldn't believe her son would blame her. She sobbed, you ungrateful monster. Megan suddenly spoke up. Mark, I have an idea. A way to solve our food problem. Mark asked eagerly, what is it? I'm about to pass out from hunger. Megan leaned in close to Mark's ear and whispered, trick your mom into getting out of the car. One less person means we can last a few more days. But that's my mother. And this in my belly is your son. Are you going to let us starve to death? Mark hesitated for a moment, then agreed. A little while later, he clutched his throat, gasping. Mom, I can't breathe. I think I'm having an allergic reaction. Mark was allergic to peanuts. For years, he'd been so careful about what he ate that he'd barely had any reactions. As expected, his mother was terrified. Son, don't scare me. Was it the cookies we had for lunch? Did they have peanuts in them? You wait here. Mom will go find you some medicine. Maybe someone in another car has some. With that, she stumbled out of the car. Megan quickly locked the door. Don't blame me, Mark. I'm doing this for our son. A long time passed. Just when I thought my mother-in-law had died out there, I heard a tapping on the car window. Son, open the door. It's freezing out here, let me in. His mother begged, son, please say something. Don't leave me out here. Then came Mark's muffled voice. Mom, I have to leave you. I have no choice. Megan is pregnant with my child. I have to take care of her. We're almost out of the food we stole. Dad's already gone. Mom, without you we can last a few more days. His mother's voice grew fainter. You ungrateful son, you wolf in sheep's clothing. You tricked me. She pounded on the door in despair, her cries heart-wrenching. Megan shouted, ma'am, you wouldn't want your own grandson to starve, would you? We can't open this door. Eventually, the mother-in-law's voice faded away. Inside the car, Mark had no idea that his mother was clutching a box of allergy medicine. She had endured the knife-like cold, begging for it from another car. Too weak to walk, she had crawled back step by step, her back a mess of bloody scratches, muttering the whole time, with this medicine, my son will be saved. She had crawled all the way back to the car, only to be met with her own son's cruel and calculated betrayal. The howling wind drowned out her last words. Son, Mom got you the medicine. She clutched the box tightly, freezing into an ice sculpture in the swirling snow. Finally, everything fell silent. No one cared about her. Megan opened the car door for a second, then quickly shut it. Your mom's frozen solid. Mark buried his head in his hands and sobbed a few times. Mom, Don't blame me. I really had no choice. I have to live. Megan is carrying your grandson, you know. Megan said smugly, that's right. The ultrasound said it's a boy. He can carry on the family name. As soon as we get back, you need to hurry up and divorce your wife. Mark agreed. So many people went to her place to get supplies. She's probably dead by now. Then the house and all her savings will be ours. Listening to their scheming, my heart sank. No wonder my mother-in-law and Mark were so obsessed with Megan. No wonder they were willing to abandon me to bring her home. They were worried something might happen to their precious grandson. So my gut feeling was right. Mark really was cheating on me. He was just so secretive I never managed to catch him. Those two scumbags even had a child on the way. They thought I was dead, and they could just swoop in and take all my assets. What a neat little plan. I remembered how I married Mark without a dowry or a house. I had even paid the down payment on the place we lived in now. I must have been out of my mind to fall for such a heartless, social climbing snake. I opened a cabinet and angrily devoured a bag of chocolate. Mark would get what was coming to him. Sooner or later, he'd freeze to death out there. I'd listen to the bug occasionally every day to keep tabs on Mark. Relying on his physical strength, Mark managed to rob a few more cars. With the stolen food and blankets, he and Megan survived for several more days. But with each robbery, the other cars had less and less to offer. In many of them, the occupants had already frozen or starved to death. Just as Mark was sinking into despair, the sound of a helicopter echoed from above. The government had sent rescue teams. A loudspeaker announced the rescue protocol. The elderly, children, sick, disabled, and pregnant will be prioritized. Everyone else, please wait where you are. We will not abandon anyone. But everyone knew it was a long shot whether they'd survive until the next rescue. There weren't many survivors left. Everyone was scrambling to get on the helicopter. Megan looked at Mark. Mark, I can get on because I'm pregnant. What about you? She was right. Mark was a healthy man. There was no way they'd let him on. I had underestimated Mark's resolve. He pulled out a knife, looked down at his left arm, and with a grunt brought it down. Megan screamed, so much blood. Mark, what are you doing? Why did you cut yourself? Mark smiled. I'm disabled now. I can get on the helicopter. I have to go back and see if Clara is dead or not. My heart sank. Mark was coming back. I heard on the radio that the government had set up temporary shelters for the rescued. Everyone was given food, not much, but if they were careful, it would last about a week. They couldn't stay in the shelters forever. Eventually, they'd have to go back home. On my security cameras, I watched Mark and Megan return. Mark's arm was wrapped in a bandage. They were a far cry from the well-dressed couple who had left for the holidays. Their clothes were filthy, and they were so weak they could barely stand. Mark was full of regret. I never should have told people to come loot the place. The apartment was picked clean, but Mark still managed to find a little food hidden in the corners of the kitchen, snacks I had stashed away from him. Mark was always telling me to lose weight, but I couldn't resist hiding some treats. I never thought they'd end up benefiting him. After scouring the apartment, Mark found a few cups of spicy noodles and some packets of chicken feet. He muttered, at least there's something left to eat. We can hold out a little longer. Things will get better once the snow stops. Megan sounded uncertain. Will the snow really stop? Shivering, Mark walked through the apartment. Clara definitely hasn't been back. She's hiding somewhere else. The city's power grid came back online for a brief hour. Seizing the opportunity, Mark video called me. I answered immediately, pointing the camera at my dining table. Compared to the feast laid out before me, the food Mark was holding looked pathetic. His face twisted with jealousy. Clara, you're living in luxury. I'm your husband. How can you be so cruel? Husband? A husband who got another woman pregnant? A husband like that, I'd rather not have. His expression changed. You knew? Yeah, I figured it out. You know, I'm not totally against taking you in. But Megan, that homewrecker, I just can't stand the sight of her. Mark glanced at Megan and said nothing. I continued, I have air conditioning here and plenty of food. Mark, when you kicked me out of the car, you never imagined you'd get caught in a blizzard, did you? It's a real shame you're still alive. The universe must be blind. Mark gritted his teeth, letting me mock him. Then he humbled himself. Clara, I regret everything. I realize now that you're the one I truly love. Megan and I, It was just a fling. Give me a chance. Let me make it up to you, okay? I'll think about it, I said, then hung up and switched back to the security feed. I deliberately gave Mark a glimmer of hope. It was the only way to turn him against Megan. A cheater and a homewrecker, I wasn't going to let either of them off the hook. As for the baby in Megan's stomach, I wasn't some saint. That child wasn't innocent, it was the product of their affair, a symbol of their sin. Sure enough, Mark was wavering. After all, he had seen the feast on my table and the stacks of supplies in my house. And in this sub-zero weather, I even had air conditioning. For Mark, that was an irresistible lure. Megan, oblivious to the situation, was complaining about the baby kicking and saying she was hungry. Mark yelled, "Your appetite keeps getting bigger. This is all the food we have. It'll last 3 or 4 days at most. If we don't ration it, we're going to starve. Why are you yelling at me? I'm carrying your son." A few weeks later, all of Mark's food was gone. The temperature outside had dropped to 60 below. Going out was a death sentence, and they both knew it. Panic was setting in. What are we going to do? I don't want to die. Mark clenched his jaw. There have to be other survivors in this building. We'll rob them, just like we did on the highway. With the holidays approaching, most people had gone back to their hometowns. Very few had stayed behind. As far as I knew, in our entire building, maybe only 3 or 4 families were left. Mark wrapped himself in the thickest blanket in the house and grabbed a kitchen knife. He wasn't gone long. When he came back, he was carrying stolen food. He had robbed a divorced mother and her daughter on the 3rd floor. Seeing the bloodstains on his sleeve in the video, my stomach churned. Megan understood. "Did you again?" Mark snapped, "Shut up. We have to survive." That mother and daughter downstairs had a lot of supplies. They even had heat packs. They're pretty warm. They had so much stuff, it'll take me a few trips to get it all. Though Mark didn't say it outright, I knew what had happened to the mother and daughter downstairs. I quietly saved the video footage. About a month later, the snow stopped. The temperature gradually warmed up, eventually stabilizing around 5 degrees. It was a livable temperature again. Mark and Megan had managed to survive on the supplies they'd stolen from their neighbors. But the blizzard had terrified everyone. The streets were still mostly empty, and supermarkets remained closed. The apocalypse was far from over. After the blizzard, the next thing to hit was a heat wave. For days after the snow started, I had a dream. In the dream, after the extreme cold ended, an endless day began. The temperature kept rising, soaring to 130 degrees. I wasn't sure if the dream was real, but as events unfolded one by one, I knew it was true. A heat wave was coming. Luckily, I had prepared for everything when I was stockpiling. The villa was fully stocked, and I had my own power generator, more than enough to handle a heat wave. I just had to survive for 2 months. As the snow melted, the city's temperature began to rise, until soon it was hotter inside than it was with the heat on. People temporarily forgot their grief and tried to return to normal life. Mark managed to scavenge a few more supplies. Megan breathed a sigh of relief. Mark, with all this, will be okay. But Mark was growing uneasy. Something's not right. This isn't over. It's still winter, but it's this hot. Something's wrong. The temperature climbed higher and higher. Finally, one night he packed up all the food in the house and snuck away. Watching Mark's figure on the screen, I clapped my hands. It was finally happening. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, Mark showed up outside the villa. The temperature skyrocketed overnight, hitting 120 degrees. At midnight, the sun was still high in the sky. The city had lost the night. Mark was dragging a blanket and a bag of food. His lips were cracked, and he was drenched in sweat. I had doubled the height of the villa's walls and lined them with high-voltage wires. There was no way he could climb over. But Mark had come prepared. He held up a megaphone. "Clara, I was wrong. Please forgive me. For the sake of our marriage, let me in. I'm dying of thirst." Haunted by the blizzard, Mark had only stockpiled cold weather supplies. In this extreme heat, they were useless and absurd. I stood inside the wall. "How did you find this place?" "In your video call, I saw the osmanthus tree in the yard. You told me once that your friend's villa in the countryside had an osmanthus tree. I took a chance and came looking. This is the only villa around here. You're smarter than you look." Mark pleaded and begged. After a while, with a creak, the main gate opened. I had opened the gate for him. "It's cool inside," I said. Mark darted in, and ran into the house. The air conditioning was blasting cold air. It was wonderfully cool. He greedily drank in the cold air, grabbed an ice cream from the freezer, and sighed. Clara, you really stocked up on everything. You're so comfortable, even in the apocalypse. I could see the greed in his eyes. I said softly, I'm glad you saw the error of your ways. I forgive you. We can live here together. Mark slowly advanced on me, a cold smile on his face. Together? Clara, are you really that stupid? This villa is mine now. As for you, you can go to hell. He suddenly pulled out a fruit knife and lunged, stabbing at my stomach. Then he froze. I seized the moment, kicked the knife out of his hand, and smashed a nearby vase over his head. Mark collapsed unconscious. I patted my stomach. Good thing I was prepared. I was wearing 2 layers of body armor. When Mark woke up again, he was locked in a cage in the villa's basement. He struggled, screaming obscenities. I laughed. Surprised? I leaked the location to you on purpose. I wanted you to find me, because I had to make sure you wouldn't survive to see the end of this. A man like Mark had managed to survive the blizzard. I was genuinely afraid he might make it through the heat wave too. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. I didn't kill him. Death would be too easy. I wanted him to beg for it. Before long, the heat wave ended. Cities began to return to normal. The apocalypse was over, but countless people had died. I heard that Megan had starved to death after Mark ran off with all the supplies. And my husband, Mark, had disappeared after the apocalypse ended. I provided the police with a video clip, the one of Mark attacking me in the villa, and me hitting him with the vase. I cried to the police. I was so scared after I hit him. He just ran away. He hasn't come back. Mark was reported as a missing person, and the case went cold. During that time, I started selling my surplus supplies. All sorts of goods were now rationed. Everyone, terrified of another freak weather event like the blizzard or the heat wave, was desperately stockpiling. I knew the disaster was over. I kept 3 months' worth of supplies for myself and sold the rest, making a fortune. I sold the old apartment and bought a new, spacious one. I lay contentedly on my sofa, sipping red wine, a video playing on my phone. On a street in Thailand, a disabled beggar, filthy and missing all 4 limbs, was whimpering and kowtowing to passers-by for money. If you looked closely, you could see a mole on the man's neck, a mole that looked exactly like the one my husband, Mark, used to have. The end.